So what I would love to do is start way back in your history and what got you involved? Where you grew up here in...
Well, I think for me, you know, when I left this place, many years ago, and then I lived, when I finally kind of settled down, I was in Hill River.
Hill River, yeah.
And then
Where were you born?
I was born in Big Fields,
Right.
west of South. And my mother's from there, and my father was from Santa Rosa. But my father passed away when I was a young kid. So, and my mother moved back to Big Hills. And Uncle mine, the youngest of their group, he took me to California. So I started school over there as a kid and grew up over there. So I came back and forth. And in the outside world, as I call it, you know, I grew up more or less with everybody else. But to the all-time world, there was my older uncles and my grandparents who were still alive then, who held me in the traditional ways. So I had to live in two, you know, both worlds.
Yeah.
But after I came back, you know, I did settle in Hill River. I was there for about 26 years. And then the people from my community came up there. Well, there were several people that came and wanted me to be their running mates when they're running for a chair. And I said, no, I don't do it. So I didn't go down there. And then, but I kept track of what was happening, you know, down here until the people from my community came and asked me to run for council. And well, then I had a choice of should I do it or should I? But I said, I was working for a small community school there in Casablanca.
Were you teaching?
Teaching culture on both sides, and then about everything else because it was a small school. It only went up to about 4th grade.
Yeah.
It was a BIA school then, it went a contract or a community school. But I was there, and then I told my boss, you know, these guys came, wanted me to go down there and run for it. And he said, well, go ahead, you know. If you don't make it, come back, you know, you're off.
Yeah.
So I did go and ran that first 89. I went down there.
Okay.
And I made it by, I think it was 2 votes or something. And I said, well, the guy probably challenged him, but nothing ever happened. So I just stayed. Meantime, I told my family, I said, I'll be back and forth back. 4 years, I'll be back. But they reelected me again for another 4 years, so I stayed 8. And at that time, that's how, you know, I got involved in the ISTA or International.
Yeah, because that's right. 90s was about the time. So you were on council then when we were starting the land use forum.
Yeah, because at that time too, you know, I guess if you remember the Hitch, you know, the program, the guys that really
Floyd and Fernando and Melina.
And then somehow somebody got wind of it in the council, so they sent us down there. And says, well, you guys go down there. I remember it was Chester, Anton, and Johnson, Jose, and I believe it was Alex Ramon or something.
Alex, yeah.
That we all went down there, but we hardly knew anybody. I mean, you know, we were all strangers down there. So when they voted for members, I think Chester put his name in there. But I don't know if he got any votes or not, because like I said, we didn't. I guess we were about the only 4 or 3 people that voted for him, but the others, you know, they already knew who was involved. But when we, you know, we didn't get, nobody was elected from there, our council anyway. We just let it go.
And you were on legislative, but were you already doing the cultural work? So you were chair of the cultural at the same time you were legislative.
Right, I was chair of the cultural preservation.
Because you had been doing all that work with the State Museum and then with the National Museum. That was going on, and
that came the 90 or the NACPA thing in '90 when everything started.
Right.
And so we were really involved in fact, the Cultural Preservation Committee was one of for the youngest of the committees,
right.
Because they didn't have anything to, I always say, the incident that happened here with the state museum,
Right.
then everybody got shook up.
Yeah.
That's when the state law came in also, because they didn't have anything.
Right, right, because I remember you talking about the repatriation and the things that you were working with them on at the time. Why were you interested in the Alliance? What was...
Well, to me, like we were always saying, that someday will ever happen, This is the reason to, that part of all of those were our lands to begin with, and I just wanted to make sure that we had a say in a lot of these things that
right.
was formerly ours, That's how I talked the council into saying, oh yeah, we'll support the biosphere when it came up.
Right, you were instrumental in that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And had you been to the Pinacate Forum in 88 when down in Mexico? Had you been to that one?
Yeah, we went down there and we were really trying to get it because of what Escuda, the guy that came from Mexico that brought the issue about getting support. And we had told him then that, if you can do that, then we as Alton people want to be on the management plan.
Right.
But we had ups and downs and that whole thing, so I never really, Alton never really got involved. Well, they did try, but they were always, they weren't heard of or whatever, the voices.
Yeah.
So, but we're still, in touch with those guys. I mean, right now, like I said, we're working with Organ Pipe. Organ Pipe had hired a couple. Well, they were supposed to be one, but 3 of them left right after. Spending a little bit of time. I don't know what was happening down there. We could never figure it out, but they were all women. And
Organ Pipe.
Organ Pipe funded the people, but it had to be phoned through ISTA because ISTA was the middle person.
Got it. This was when there was staff for them. Was that in Pinacate? That's what I thought. So the Otham had staff. Who was it that was doing that?
No, it was well, these people that worked there, they were originally from Mexico, different parts of Mexico.
Oh, okay, so there were Mexican Otham?
There were people who interested in that field, so like I said, they were, and one of the, I guess, requirements was that they spoke English, and which they did. They all spoke good English. But for some reason, I don't know what it was, they didn't last because of the way things were run down there, or is it because of their supervisor?
Well, they were in a little trailer there for a while, weren't they? Yeah. So it was tight quarters, as I understood it from the beginning.
Yeah. So the funding finally left, and I don't think Organ really ever got anything out of the whole thing, which they were supposed to do was to make a report, work along with them, and then finalize the report. But I don't think it ever happened, or is it still being done? But I know that that last person that was there, she left maybe about 2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Went back. I don't know, it's in Mexico City or somewhere, I don't know. But like I said, they were, he went to Veracruz, that's where she was.
Oh, okay.
But that's how I at the beginning, like I said, our involvement in there. So when after that election, and then we came back and reported to the council, that's when they assigned me to be on that thing, and I didn't really want to be. I just to be there was enough for me to go to the meetings, but not to say what.
Yeah.
You be there.
Yeah.
We'll leave it up to you to do this, and that's, I mean, there's 5 other people that could have gone there and says, hey, you do it. But they're always pointing at you, you know, says, hey, you do it.
Yeah. Well, you had a strong leadership role in those early days too, in forming the way the structure was going to work and what we were going to work on.
Right.
So it was real critical. I'm glad that you decided to stay.
Yeah. I've been trying to get out now. Well, and maybe when you say, when you go to AHA, and maybe you hear a different story from those guys, but for me, you know, I mean, I was interested because it covered the environment, you know, and that's what we dealt with.
Yeah.
I mean, even in our little group as Cultural Preservation Committee, you know, we dealt with all these issues and everything else, not only there, but elsewhere.
Right.
But, you know, in today, man, I think the focusing is going off on what the mission of the whole ISTA was all about to begin with. And so, you know, it's kind of losing my interest because of, hey, I'm not a real estate agent or whatever. I want to buy this property. I want to buy that property. And so, you know, to me, when I go to their meetings, it's always issues about the railroad station or the square there or houses they want, you know. I mean, what are we going to do about all this other stuff?
Yeah.
And the committee got smaller, you know, and we are not getting any all-time involvement from the other side. See, that's another thing. And how are we going to be called an international if we're not going to have people from that side?
Yeah, we've heard that they have really shifted from being completely binational, where you had a board that was mixed and the agenda and mission were set, but that's changed.
Yeah.
It doesn't take us too far off subject. I'd be very interested to know about your Committee on Cultural Preservation and sort of what you've been able to do over the years with that, and maybe the extent to which it's got a binational aspect to it, does it?
We still do, but again, it goes back to our leadership.
Right.
And how they feel that we should be involved in some of these things, you know, and they leave it up to us mainly. But again, it's, you know, they'll have to say, okay, well, there's the line, okay. See, the other day I was in there, I was sitting in there with the managers, you know, and we got a new. What do you call it? Director for natural resources. He's a young man. He has the credentials, but he hasn't been out in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of hard to focus on that, but like, you know, for direction. And again, he never really did come to our program to say, okay, what are you guys up to, or what are you guys doing, or what do you want to do, or how should I help you, you know, push for some of these things. But I told them that day they were all in there, managers from the different programs under natural resources. They were talking about the border, and it says something about car insurances. I says, how many vehicles do you have that Mexican insurance? Oh, we only got 5. How come we don't have one? We're the ones that really do all the work.
Yeah.
And I hate borrowing cars from the museum because they have 2.
Yeah.
And I said, we're the ones that, you know, really need the vehicles to get out there and do our work. You know, every time there's new cars coming in, it's to you guys sitting around here in the office. You drive back one, that's it. You know, everybody start moving around. And here we are, man. We don't even have a vehicle that can make it to the border. And but you know, the guy said, "Well, if you want to," that's what he said. "Well, if you want to get insurance for your vehicle, you know, bring it. I'll put it on the list." But you gave me a vehicle first. But you know, you try to joke around with those guys to make them. But we are still involved. You know, like you're asking about the committee. Ever since I've been with them, you know, I got out in '97 because I was instrumental in establishing this office where we are today, and got these 4 tribes to come and work with us. I mean, we're all a coalition from the other tribes up near the Salt River or Hill River, because we were all one people at one time. And everything else is the same, except the governments are set up a little different, you know. But we meet once a month on cultural issues with these other people. Now the tribal leaders, they meet quarterly. In fact, their flyers are out. They'll be meeting next month, and that rotates around, you know, all 4 tribes. But the leadership, man, it's mostly talking about their business. But we, as the Culture Preservation Committee people, or the Culture Working Group, we focus on what the laws are and how to deal with a lot of these issues that come before us. Because, you know, a lot of times it's these federal land managers that come, or either outsiders, you know, that want to do something within our ancestral lands, and then they come and ask, you know, how to go about it or whatever. We give them the guidance on a lot of these things that we're charged with to do. I mean, and so right now, you know, after when I told them that we need an office, because I was doing all this work out of the council, you know, and they said, you need an office, because if it's going to be an ongoing thing, somebody has to do it. And yet, you look at all these meetings that you have to attend as a council person, and they want you to be there. So, you know, you miss out on some of these things. So that's how, you know, all was kind of established, and a lot of it now, you know, falls, the jurisdictions and stuff falls on us. And we have to deal, and this is how our museum started up also. Because we were out there trying to get stuff back, and they said, well, you have to have a secure place to put all this stuff. And then one time we were dealing with this guy in Hill Bend. I don't know if you remember, his name was Norton Allen. He had a big collection that he took out of Hill Bend. he lived in La Mesa, outside San Diego. So one year he came over there and he started to tell us that, you know, I like to return all this stuff because I know it belongs to you people. But it took 2 years of talking and negotiating and everything. Now that's when he told me if we have a secure place, you know, he'd be willing to
So you guys opened a museum?
Yeah.
Where
that's
is it?
Where our office is. It's south of South in Tohono.
Oh, in Tohono. Okay.
It'll be 3 years next month.
Wow. Is that open, or is so we could go see it?
Yeah. It's open like weekends. I think it's just one day Saturday, but it's open all week. You know. I mean,
Yeah.
You can have a guided tour or whatever.
If I'm understanding it, in some sense, this cultural preservation role is pushed on you in some sense because agencies and groups want to develop your ancestral lands, and through federal laws and other things that require the Antiquities Act, if they're going to excavate or do things, they need to consult with you. So then the question is, who do you consult, and then you become the person to be consulted.
We're the ones that does all the consulting.
And then the council makes the guidelines about what?
They make the decision, or whatever. We say, well, let's say they want to put like out of Hill Bend, you know, one of these solar plants or whatever it is, and then we go out there with people who are going to put it up, meet with them and get the plans and everything else and do the survey and everything. Then it goes to the committee and we report to them. Then they take it to the council and the council approves it. Then the chair has to sign off on it.
How important in this cultural preservation is the international aspect and the binational nature of the community, the fact that you have members of the community that really are on the other side, and yet there's a lot of things happening that impede your moving back and forth and practicing there.
That's one of the things that we try to stress every time we go into Mexico for our presentations. Like we were down there in January, they had a Southwestern symposium, and there were people mostly from here at the university and other organizations that were there on cultural issues, and they had people from Mexico that deal with some of those things, archaeologists and stuff. So we took our presentation down there, and the issues that we presented to them was some of the things that happened out there in one of our traditional communities, which is called Kitowak. You know, it's about 40 miles south of Sonoita, or Lutonville, you might call it. But that's a real traditional place. And it's in there when we have our storytelling, or our, you know, everything's there. A lot of things started there, and it went. And one year, a bunch of archaeologists came there and started taking up all that stuff, and then they raided some of the caves where they kept the traditional ceremony stuff in it, and they took it to Mexico. So we found out about it. Then we traced it down, and it was through the help of this lady that she was hired later on to work for the tribe for a while, Graciela.
Graciela, yeah. Did the mine do the damage that we so feared? Remember when Hecla came in and we lost that battle? And
yeah, they you know, we got a lot of support from, you know, closing that mine up, because, you know, the way that the land is, and even from down there in Peñasco, the town folks are saying they didn't want that there because all that water flows downhill.
Yeah.
And the surrounding community of Sonoita.
So Hecla opened up and they started mining, and then you guys were successful in getting it shut down?
Yeah.
When did it get shut down?
It was only there for maybe about 2 years, and then it shut down. Didn't really.
Well, that's good.
And what they were supposed to find, they didn't find. The gold they were looking for.
The vein wasn't as rich as they thought it would be.
No.
So the damage then wasn't.
The damage, it wasn't so bad, but it's, you know, but just the surrounding areas.
This was an open pit gold mine that was brought to ISDA as an issue, and we actually brought the management of Hecla in. Yeah. Remember that pretty hostile meeting we had, and a lot of concern about this area because it's such a sacred, really a sacred site. You guys are still having your annual ceremonies there, and it's a town, and that it's one of the last artesian springs.
Yes.
And so it's very much like Kitowak in a way.
Yeah.
Or Quito-Biquito.
Quito-Biquito.
Very similar in the sense.
You got that, and then you got
very precious.
The one in Posaveri, they have another spring. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Are they able to still drink water from the wells? Do they?
No, they put in
They put in a new system.
Yeah, they put a little water line system now in the community there. So
the town's small. It's got this adobe, or it had this adobe well, and they just would all go to the center of town and pull up the water buckets, and that's how they. I mean, it was a real traditional town still, and
right now
the surface water was what we were worried about because the mine used a tremendous amount of water, and then it was cyanide leaching. And
man, that was bad.
Yeah.
Right now, the museum, the education part of the museum, and our office is working with the school kids down there. That little school they have there. Okay. And we were supposed to go down there about 2 weeks ago, but see again. The leaders, you know, they hired the museum. I guess had Graciela a contract to go with them, you know, work with them. But somehow the contract wasn't signed yet, so they
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So what's going on with the Otham in Mexico office? Is it still? It's gone. No.
There's
so
no
Sylvester's.
more.
Antone, or who was it?
Oh, you mean Asensio?
Asensio.
Yeah, he passed away way back in, I think it was 94, 95, somewhere back. Oh, wait, no, it's more recent. Well, maybe
after I left, because he was still here.
Yeah, then his son is the one that's supposed to be taking over, Felix.
So, Felix now.
Yeah, but he has health problems now, so he's spending more time on this side rather than down there. But the office itself, they done away with, because at one time we were the people were complaining when the office was there. Frank Mariano was running it. well, he was favoring his relatives or whatever, so the word wasn't going all the way out or whatever they're supposed to be doing. A lot of people weren't getting there.
And that office was established to, they had asked Udall for dual citizenship.
That's right.
And Udall had said, you've got to know how many we're talking about, so you need to do basically an assessment of lineage and all that. And so the Mexican office was established, and so they'd been doing some, and kind of their agenda became a little bigger, because then it became providing health care and services, and you couldn't just go count people. You had to. So that was.
When I got there, it was it wasn't. It was there, but I wasn't really sure what was it for. That's I might question a lot of these things just in order for us in our committee to be able to work with them, but they were kind of, we don't involve you because we have our own thing. One of these things, and this is how you can help if you don't know what you want or can, do things for you. But they were kind of trying to be independent, so. But when that guy was in charge of that, and like people were complaining in Mexico, he's just favoring these guys. He's not even happy with that.
Wow.
So the committee brought up to the council, and all they were asking us was to get rid of this guy and put a new guy in there who could work with everybody, and not just certain. So when it was brought up before the council didn't ask me, just, forget it, do away with it. And
that was it. Did they ever complete the inventory or the dual citizenship or pursue that at all?
Well, they did try to, they were pushing it, and they went to Washington, camped out there for a couple of months.
Yeah, I heard they were going to do
that. They were up there dealing with the representatives from here.
Was that recent? That was not too long ago. Years ago.
Yeah, it was probably about maybe, let's see. Edward Manuel was chair then. And he was the one that, he had a staff attorney that our committee, Marco.
Yeah.
Marco, sure. Yeah. She was the one that was heading up everything else.
Marco worked for Riachit for a while. Yeah.
And then after that, when it left, and the chair lady came in, and just right away,
interesting.
Cutting everybody.
Is Henry Ramon still around?
He's still there.
We gotta go see Henry.
Yeah, he's still out at his home by a chin.
Yeah, but
I see him.
He was the chair at the end when I left.
Over there at the little casino there. Sometimes he hangs around there.
Okay, we'll stop by. We're gonna go see the rain tomorrow. We'll stop by.
Sitting in there every time I go there. He's sitting in there.
That was his dream, was to establish that gas station and the casino right there at the edge of Hickwam district.
Yeah, he's always in there. Right?
When you were talking about the relationship between cultural preservation and natural resources management,
well,
I wish you'd expand on that a little bit, because I can see where, in some sense, when development occurs on any of these lands, it's both an insult to the natural world as well as to your traditions.
Right.
But talk about that a little bit.
Well, in the autumn way, we're always it's not a separate thing like we do in the government business. Okay. Well, this is the natural resource, this is the culture resource. Right. Okay. We always work with both the culture and the natural, because they're a combination of both. You can't, in the autumn world, you can't separate these two elements and say, well, we're going to do this culture. Natural's okay. It's all one whole thing. And that's the problem that sometimes when we deal with the land managers like BLM or Forest Service or all these guys, when they talk about that, they're the ones that separate everything. And so the issue is there, it says, well, you can't do that. Whenever we ask for a grant or whatever, or you try to talk about something, and we try to write everything in there, which includes both culture and national. And they say, well, it doesn't work. It has to be over here. Yeah. This and so. But in the world we live in, it doesn't. Because it's all one whole thing. And it's hard for them sometimes to understand that this is why, you know, we just got through here doing what they call an International Watershed Symposium here. This is their third year that the Forest Service has brought in people from different parts of the world to come and see how the autumn utilized the water back there without any rain or running rivers, or, you know, how did they manage to live, or how did they manage to farm some of these lands when there's no out there in the main res, you know, there's no running rivers, like this dried up Santa Cruz River here. Right. So we brought them here this time, and you know, I think it was in April. They were here and they do 1 day. And the first year they got me I went to their office downtown and gave a talk about who we are and everything. Then they got interested in coming back and seeing part of what I was talking about. So we took them out to the museum and we held the second symposium there. And then the third one was here. So let's take them up there because, you know, you have the water, the CAP water that comes in. You got all the river here that used to be one road at one time, and then the Santa River here, you know, has their own water resources people. And they were involved in getting some of these workshops going and explain to them how they utilize the water that they get from, you know, the CAP, and trying to replenish their aquifers and stuff like that. So that all, you know, was a learning process for those guys, because they came from the Mideast countries, and some were from Africa, South America, right? Yeah, all those other countries. So they're you know, we do try to get out to the world and tell them what we do and how things were done back there. And, you know, it's the same way on the other side. You know, like I said, when we go down there and talk to the people in the officials in Mexico about what we like to see, all we want is to have you people tell us what you're doing. I mean, we'll probably never get our ancestors back, because he says, well, it belongs to the country, it belongs to the... But for the ones that I was telling you about that they took out of Quito, one of the traditional places, they were held down in Mexico City by the French embassy, and they were going to take them to France.
This was when the mine was there?
No, it was before the mine, yeah. Huh. Before the mine, and
was it a burial site?
It was a burial site. And then they took everything out of there, and then, like I said, in that little mountain on this side was this case where they had their traditional stuff for the ceremonies, and they took all of it. And when we got word of that, then we went to Mexico and sat with those guys. Gave my history of why we need this stuff back. And so 1992, I went down there and picked up everything. And this little guy drove me from Mexico City to Hermosillo. Brought all that stuff. And he wanted to haul it all the way out to Quito. At that time when Fernando was in charge with the Hecho, they brought some vans down there and met us in Hermosillo. And so they were going to haul it from there, so, to the people.
Is Fernando still around?
Yeah, he's there. Huh. Yeah, he's still there.
He's not with the Yacha, though.
No, there's a different guy. I don't think he's Yacha. He's some other tribe. I don't know if you remember Leroy.
Yeah.
One, yeah, see, he left. I don't know what he's doing, but I know he's still around. All those guys that were there at one time, Lena.
Yeah, Lena.
They're all new people there.
Yeah.
I wonder about sort of looking back from the time when you started the sort of cultural preservation committee up and through these times of repatriation of materials and things to the establishment of this museum, right? But you still don't have cars and you still don't have an office.
We have an office there at the museum.
Well, I just wonder whether or not, when you think about this story, is this a story of progress and things getting better? Or is it a story of continuing struggle against mounting odds? How do you think about this story?
In a way, there's a little progress made. I mean, we do get, again, if you go back to the NAGPRA law, you know, they let you have the human remains, sacred objects, funerary objects, and objects of cultural patrimony. See, those are the four main things that the law says that you can get if you can prove that it belonged to your people. But there's minutes and minutes of other stuff that are there that we call unassociated funerary objects. Those are the things that the institutions wants to hang on to, because there's nowhere it says in there that they have to return these. But it's up to the people who run the museums or who have in control of these things that can say, well, yeah, you can have it. This is the big argument that I always have. I was just in UCLA about a month ago dealing with those guys and for the past 2 days I was right down here, what they call the Western Archaeology Center on Broadway out here, with the Casa Grande Ruins National Park Service. They have stuff there that they laid out for us to look at. And again, you know, NAGPRA in a way is what is a human rights law, really.
Right.
But within this thing, you'll have tribes pit against each other, claiming the same things, you know. So that gets territorial, you know. And I'm trying to tell these people, I can't see, you got to educate our leaders to let them know that, hey, this is what I do, this is where all these laws come in, and how well you know your law, or how well you can get to these guys. Then you're able to get the stuff back.
Right. Well, there's two sides to it, isn't there? It's getting the stuff back once they take it, and then there's this other side that you were talking about, which is preventing them from messing around with it in the first place.
Right. See, then that's the difference between the federal law and the state law. The state law, you can go out there anytime there's a discovery out here, they'll call you right away, you know, because
the state will do it.
They'll call you and tell you, hey, we got this discovery, you want to come and look at it before we remove it, or how do you want us to do with it?
How did that good relation happen? Did it?
It took years, I'll tell you.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Took years, because I remember when I first came, like I said, in '89 it came in, and the museum here, the State Museum, I had to go introduce myself a little bit, tell them who I am. You know. Everybody's kind of leery over there because of what happened, when they had that sit-in over there to get some of that stuff that came out of this river right here by that bridge. And the people here wanted it back, so they had to sit. So they were probably thinking, oh, here comes another Indian guy wanting all this stuff back, you know. And, you know, I tried to tell them, well, you know, there's such a thing as a law that you guys created. I'm just trying to find out if it's going to work, or is it going to work? How do you look at these things, you know? I'm here to work with you people, because they had some bad experiences, I guess, and the trust wasn't there, or nobody trusted each other. But that's what they had to do, is to build this trust.
Build trust how? Over just a long time?
Long time.
Attitude when you talk to them?
Yeah. you know, I told him, hey, I'm not here to take all your stuff. I just want to see what's here and what goes back, what stays, what you feel stays. Right. We'll come back later. But, you know, I'll take what it is right now, you know. You get to build that working relationship. When Lynn Tig, I don't know if you remember Lynn Tig.
Yeah.
Well, she was the one that went through, and then they, if they're lucky, you know, they'll make it to wherever they're going. Like right now, I don't know if you've been down there, they have this checkpoint coming in out of South.
It's out of checkpoint.
We're going to go through there tomorrow.
Yeah, right there. It's no problem going in, it's coming this way.
Hmm.
There's a checkpoint there right at the boundary with Autumn. Yeah.
Now, are they still doing the training of the rangers with you guys? Because for a while, the Border Patrol was training rangers so that you had your own personnel and staff who were doing more of that.
We have the ranger program that's more under the tribe.
Right.
But the other guys that used to work with, they used to call them the customs agents, or the shadow wolves, they were called.
Yeah.
See, again, when the Border Patrol came in, and they want to run all over the place, and the Autumn told them, no, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, some Autumn has to be with you.
Right.
You know, stick to the main rules. You can't be building your own rules. And so they got mad. And so what they did is they went back to Washington, got these guys to try to have them moved over to under them, so they can control the shadow wolves and say, well, we have an Autumn guy that's with us.
Oh.
And yet back in Washington, there's the resolution signed by those people up there too, that these people will stay and do their job under the customs and not to be used anywhere else. So when that happened, and without reading everything else up there, then everybody just started moving out. They just resigned or either retired, or some of them, few of them are still, but they're not really Autumn. They're tribes from other tribal people.
Are the problems? I mean, as I understood it, when we were working with ISDA and all of this issue, as they were beginning to close down Nogales and San Diego, what was coming through here was just a harder core group. And the fear, and what was happening is you'd have these people, kids, mothers, grandmothers at home, and the caliber of the people coming through were really pretty bad. And there was quite a number of cases where, you know, grandmothers were beat up or things were stolen, and so the Autumn were in a rock and a hard space because they needed the support of that militarization, but at the same time you were worried about control, and it's your land. And are you still seeing those problems with the communities on the border now? Because there were so many stories of people being hurt, and
you know, it slowed down a lot, and like you said, a lot of times now it's just either they're dashing through there, or it's mostly those that are into the illegal stuff, the drugs and stuff.
The drugs.
They're the ones that are still, you know, in it somehow.
Yeah.
But you know, they just had a big raid out there not too long ago in cells a couple of weeks ago.
Is that mostly marijuana they're bringing in?
Marijuana and mostly that I see, but they do bring in the other stuff too.
Do they try to get tribal members to, community members to?
Yeah, the community members, like I said, some of them get sucked into all this stuff, you know. I mean, to them, they look at it as easy money, but yet they don't look at it, what can happen to them. Like, if you get caught now, they'll take your car, you know, watch your car. Or they'll, in fact, you know, people, like this young guy I was talking to out here, he said, well, I'm going to go back in again, serve time, you know. Kids like that, or, you know, people like that, they get so hooked up in some of these things that they just have to have or get involved in. But
there's not any laws that mean they have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And is there, I know Danny's now been gone for several years. Are there others that are continuing the traditions that he was teaching the youth? Speaking of kind of options, you know, and preserving the culture with the youth. Are there others that have stepped in?
Yeah, like I said, the education part of that museum. I don't know if you ever met that guy, Bernard Siqueiros. Bernard Siqueiros, he's the one that runs it. He's the guy that, you know, like I said, made this connection down there with the kids. So we're working with him, and he has some students from here, the university. That, well, one in particular, you know, he's very traditional, sings songs and tells stories, along with a couple of the teachers in at the community college and the small school there. Good. So there's a core group that you know that are doing and trying to get out to everybody, you know, and the youth group that's there are now beginning to, I guess, to me, you know, see the light and how important it is to keep up the traditional ways of the art. So they're into all that stuff.
Danny was instrumental, and so was Joe. And we had the last celebration of desert cultures when I was there. Do you remember that? We brought busloads of O'odham youth that had been dancing and singing, and Danny was part of. And that was you helped me work that out because they of course they don't have passports or any of that stuff, and so we had these whole busloads, and we weren't really sure they'd get back across the border. But that worked out really well. Yeah,
like the other day, you know, working with those little kids down there, you know, we set up a little thing for two of them to come out. They come and they stay at the museum, and we took them up to Kid Peak, so they spent the night up there with a couple of these other kids from different schools on the reservation. The stars, which was something to them. Because, you know,
can't see them.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so we're, you know, we're still, you know, in touch with the people out there.
And how is the economics? Are the communities in Mexico, the O'odham communities, doing okay, or things?
They're surviving. They're surviving, and like Caborca, you know, they have several things going on there, and one of the ladies that used to work for the nation too, now she just has a little food stand out there. She's involved in a museum they're trying to build out there for the O'odham.
Oh, for in Caborca?
Yeah.
Huh. Is Manuel Gonzalez still involved in?
You know, I haven't seen him for a while, but he left the board there too.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some problems with, I don't know which one of those guys, but I see him now and then when I go down there, and I always try to look him up, you know.
He's on the board of SATO.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, so I keep in touch with him. Yeah.
Well, if you see him, tell him I said hi. We might try to interview. We're going to see how many people we can grab into this, because it would be wonderful, as I said, to get the history of and where it's gone. And I understand the Achad now have a district and land.
Well, they're working on it. They have a piece of land out there by the Y, across from the
that's what Lorraine said. They have a seat on the council now.
Yeah.
Did they get that?
Well, not yet, until they establish, you know, that add on to the rest.
Oh, okay.
They haven't really put in trust yet, but once that happens, and then I think, you know, you probably, I'll probably try to get some representation.
Yeah, Lorraine had just filed that paperwork in D.C. for that when I saw her 2 years ago.
Yeah. I said, oh, they got Lorraine out there. They don't need it anymore.
Yeah. And her sister.
Yeah. I see her now. I mean, it's always busy now, you know what I mean? Oh, man.
You're supposed to slow down when you get old, Joe.
Yeah, I know. That's what they told me the other day, and I was trying to tell those guys, I went to see the doctor, and he told me that, you gotta slow down. Yeah, my kids are there squealing on me and everything else. I can't talk to this. Yeah,
You got too much work still to do.
But it keeps you going, and I enjoy what I do, and this is what makes it interesting for me, because every day it's a different thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always facing something different, and that's what makes it interesting for me to be able to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there people sort of coming along on the Cultural Preservation Committee who are interested in this and are going to take up the mantle and who care about this in the way you do?
In the Culture Committee, like I said, it's a committee within the legislative body, and things change in there because they have elections every 2 years.
Yeah.
And then different people, unless they want to hang in there, and they don't have to change committees, but some may say, or whoever terms up may not get voted in again, you know, and there's always.
So you have turnover all the time.
Uh-huh.
So it sounds like the museum may be a better focal point.
Oh, yeah.
Because that'll be, that's...
Yeah. I was telling you that this guy in Hill Bend who wanted to return these 777 pots, and he told me about you have to build something secure. So that's what got him interested in pushing for the museum again. But there was a conflict in there within the people again, you know. And then the political body got involved. Then it became a political football, you know, kicking back and forth. This and that. And finally, the people voted again, so that it got established. But in the meantime, this guy in La Mesa, you know, he said, once you get that up, once you get it secured, then you come and I'll give you the pots. So after we got everything, even before, you know, I mean, the plans were finalized, everything else, so we went down there, and the museum here agreed to hold until everything's finished. We went down there to his house. There's this little shack, what, as big as this little
And there he wanted you to have a museum.
Yeah, and a little padlock with that big I said,
That's wonderful. He kind of did you a favor. He got you the museum.
He said, yeah. I said, it's secure too. Poor guy, he passed on, but he asked to be buried out there in the Autumn Cemetery.
That's nice.
So he's buried out there, his ashes is. Now his wife was still around. He wants to. But he's already got her permission. But it was funny, I was telling him. Saw this little lot. And it was just stacked.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to stop by tomorrow on our way out to Tahoe. Where down in the, you said it's south of Sells? Is it
What's
just
that?
down the road?
Where, the museum?
If we go, yeah. If we
Yeah,
go to
when you
Sells,
go-
then we go down?
When you go to Sells, when you get to Sells,
Yeah. Sells?
if you go turn off where the hospital is. Do you remember where the hospital is?
Yeah.
Okay, you turn off there, go left right there.
So
Just
down
follow that road, and you go past the Bashes, that little shopping center.
Topawa.
Yeah, and then when you go past that little shopping center, Bashes, and then the road kind of curves, and then there's a road that goes south. Yeah, these kids, you know, bringing up all the signs that are supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But it's the first road that you hit that curve, and then you just follow it all the way.
Okay.
You'll see the big water tank out there.
Okay.
And that's the power. You pass the mission, old mission, then the water tank. Then the next road, you'll see right there, it's the district office on the left.
Okay.
And then you turn
I've
towards
been out there,
Barbecue.
Yeah.
You turn towards Barbecue. It's a dirt road just about.
I've been out there. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because you come in the backside of Barbecue,
Right.
you can from there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you.
In fact, we held an ISDA.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Do you remember?
Did, down there,
It was a
yeah.
wonderful meeting
Yeah.
we had out there.
We did there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember that.
yeah.
We had a nice school and stuff
Yeah.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's where we were before they finished the museum. It was that old school they abandoned.
Yeah, yeah.
Now they got a high school out there too.
Oh, okay.
So you go past high school. That's the first thing you hit when you go
And
over
then
the little ridge.
San Miguel is just down the road then
Yeah.
from there.
Uh-huh.
So that's the new crossing then.
Yeah. That's
Do they have a station down there?
They have a station on not at the there's it's just open, but there's always border patrol guy there. But a mile back east of it, they have a regular station there. They have like
Interesting. I want to go down to the border.
all their stuff, equipment for those guys.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and we're in the Casa Grande sector because it's
Yeah,
three
yeah.
sectors.
Right.
Tucson, Casa Grande, Ajo. And they're shift change that things, just highways
Yeah.
for their vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were told. David Yepman was talking about how it's just a highway on the other side now too. I mean, not in addition to highway Route 2 or whatever. It's just they used the opportunity on their side to.
Yeah. Oh, you get down there to Lukeville.
Yeah.
You know, they're talking about the wall. They built a little wall out, the high wall on both sides of the
At
little town.
Lukeville.
Yeah. I think maybe about a mile on both sides of the town. You know what I mean? Then it changes back into the regular.
Yeah, yeah. I can't believe it.
God,
We'll go talk to Algay.
So much stuff down there. That,
Yeah.
and they built this little mountain that's on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Now the visitors out there are all scared. They don't tour like they used to.
Yeah.
Orchid Park.
Yeah, yeah, that's, we've been not surprised. You know Cheto's still out there? Cheto Elias? He was the head of the border enforcement for Park Service way back. His wife Laura worked at Cabeza. I just wondered if he was still there. I know Harold obviously retired years ago, and Bob Schumacher and those guys, but
Harold's gone.
Is Charles out there still? I'm trying to think of anybody I know out at Orpy that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The new guy, Lee. He's a Spanish guy.
The superintendent?
Yeah, Lee Baiza.
What?
Baiza. Yeah. He's a pretty good guy. I mean, I deal with him a lot out there.
Okay.
Some of the old people, I think, are still there. But, you know, they're always inviting us down there to sit with them. The archaeology guys. Go touring with those guys in some of these places.
Are you guys still able to have some of the ceremonies and the fruit harvesting and some of the stuff that you guys?
Yeah, we do.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been wonderful.
Really great, really great. Thank you. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
We're gonna have fun out in the Ajo.
Yeah.
I haven't been out here in a while.
Ah.
Wonderful to get out to the land.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah. So many things.
Yeah. Seems like both positive and negative. It's sort of a mixed story.
Yeah, it is, you know. When you look
Move
at
a little this way and then move back this way. Yeah.
Yeah, they recently had a symposium there.
Well, did you go to that?
Yeah, I was there because we had to
Who convened it?
Those guys, the partner again, the Park Service put the money in.
ISTA did.
ISTA did.
Oh,
we had
okay,
it
so
there.
it was theirs.
So we were there to do. We presented the same thing we did in Hermosillo, and then all of a sudden, what's her name?
Tracy?
No, Adrian.
Adrian Rankin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you work closely with her.
Yeah, she's now back in with the
Goldwater.
gunnery rings.
Yeah. Was she over at U of A for a while? Where'd she go?
She was out there in at the gunnery, but never did really do any work till
recently.
Yeah. Now they got her doing this.
Good. Yeah, they had money.
Yeah.
If they wanted to put that money towards that, something like
well, see, that's what's happening over there. And in fact, they wanted us to go out there and do some work.
On the range, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-year thing. That's we're trying to get Leroy Juan, and the other young lady that did work in at the mall.
Okay.
And she's an archaeologist also. And they want to hire them to go out there and do the work.
Huh. Interesting.
And I don't know where the paperwork's at now, but the money's there for them.
Yeah.
So I said, well,
Excellent.
go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot out there on the range.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Sure.
Thank you so
Great.
much. It's wonderful
Really
to see
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
It's been years since I've seen you.
I know,
like
man.
15.
Yeah.
Feels like 15.
Yeah. It's good to see you guys.